Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday morning. I wish it was Thursday. It's one day closer to Friday then. Good morning. How's it going, Ice Beans? This week is definitely whack. True. I think time is definitely folding in on itself. The other week we were talking about how Wednesday just absolutely disappeared the other week. It's pretty good. Kind of weird without Heem's stream in the morning. How's your week been? Oh, it's been chilling. Just thankful for an extra day off. And what happened to Heem? I saw that he wasn't streaming. Did he just take today off, or? Well, I think he was streaming last night. Pretty sure he was streaming last night too. Oh, he's gonna do his podcast with Dylan in the evening. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Maybe Heem should leave the mornings to me. Just saying. Hey, Darknet, drama-free stream. I don't think I can handle this. I need my drama fix. Alright, drama fix. Vosh bad. Next question. But Vosh is evil. True. Man, I can't believe that that's probably going to be the discourse the entire week. Jesus Christ. I can't believe that that's going to be the discourse for the next, week or so. Jesus. Anyways. We're not here for it. Let's let's get the let's get some of these headlines going. This one we're just gonna skim through. Trump builds turnkey campaign for operation for 2024. It seems like the evidence is pointing. The evidence seems to be mounting that it's quite possible that Donald Trump is going to run in 2024. It's quite possible. I think that maybe what will be the final determining factor is if the Democratic Party decides to be incredibly ineffective and decides for some very weird reason to run Joe Biden again. If they run Joe Biden again, I think that the likelihood of Trump jumping in becomes almost certain. Almost certain. Boots on the ground in Iowa, accelerated fundraising, more national media interviews, a flood of new press statements. Yeah, but please tell me how this guy is, please tell me how this guy is, being censored or, deplatformed. Please. Don't you think that they, don't you think they would run Biden again? I hope they don't. I really hope they don't. I really, really hope they don't. I really hope they don't. To put it in the mildest words, that would be a mistake. Like, just politically, strategically, it would be a massive mistake. A rise in attack ads on the web, with a flurry of activity from his main political committee, and hints dropped in private conversations with confidants and advisors, Donald Trump is signaling a heightened interest in reclaiming the White House and laying the necessary groundwork to do it. Well, I guess by definition, if he's thinking that he needs to if he needs to reclaim the White House, maybe by that definition, we're getting into the area of maybe he's accepting that he lost and he needs to run again to win. I don't know. Since his November defeat, Trump and his allies have fanned the notion that he will seek a rematch in 2024. That's nothing new. Prior to its first bid for president, Trump fainted and flirted with runs for presidents for decades without pulling the trigger. But associates say that President Joe Biden's declining political fortunes amid the resurgence of the coronavirus and the August 15th fall of Kabul have intensified the interest of the former president, who's already motivated by a burning sense of pride and grievance over his loss to Biden. The word you're looking for is a sense of narcissism. The word you're looking for is narcissism. Trump sees Biden is on the ropes. He wants to throw punches as a combatant, not as a heckler from the stands. What is this, like, weird fetishization? Everything is a fight. Jesus Christ. Everything is a fight. Everything is a war. Everything is a battle. Jesus Christ. Not a heckler from the stands. Oh, of course, said Florida Representative Matt Gaetz. I should have read that. Adding that Trump is in no rush to announce, though, because the base is rightly loyal to him, and a good rule in politics is to be a candidate for a short time as necessary. What? That's a weird... well, it is Matt Gaetz, so I don't know. So brunch is canceled. Brunch is canceled, folks. Brunch is canceled. That's right. Octo Squiddies. Media needs drama for the narrative. Morning, morning. True. True. I think that this further gives me a leaning that he might actually run, and especially if they throw Joe Biden in again, which to me, I don't think they should do. I really don't think they should do. First of all, he said he wanted to be a one-term president. Okay, he said that, and I don't know. Judging by his performance. Although he has done some good stuff, and I'm not gonna take that away from him, I feel like the people as a whole, feel it to be lackluster. To put it lightly, the people feel like it is lackluster, at best. And Trump is a professional at combating this. They will lose if they run Joe Biden again, and Donald Trump steps up to the plate and becomes the nominee. Donald Trump will win that election. almost certain. Donald Trump is reportedly giving himself a makeover to prep for possible 2024 run. So again, this may be another indication. Yikes. Yikes. It's even lower than when we covered the other poll. Not looking good. Not looking good. It's still more popular than Trump, at least. True. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you like put it in perspective, you could say that like Trump was able to manage a much lower approval rating, but like I don't know if that's enough to for Biden, because it's a whole different scenario. But this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good. Besides assembling a team around him to help him campaign, there's another area in his life he's repeatedly working on: his appearance. Former president apparently wants to freshen up his image a bit before hitting the campaign trail with a little bit of healthy living and a few makeover details. So, no McDonald's, gotcha. The 45th president has always been known for his signature hairdo, orange appearance, and sometimes ill-fitting suits, but he's changing all of that behind the scenes. It's possible that he's getting ready to run. I mean, hitting the campaign trail over and over again. Who knows? If he does, if he does, the Democratic Party will should not run Joe Biden. Slightly better than rotting garbage is still hot trash. Biden needs to do better than hot trash. Right. A failure to do that, Octosquiddies, is going to result in disaster in 2022. And if that happens, then for sure it's going to be disaster in 2024. I mean, it's just that simple. Hey, base of PJ, either he's getting ready to run or he's at least trying to set up that news network so he can impact the Republican Party. Right, that's a good point. If he's not going to run himself, he's definitely going to be behind the scenes or be the kingmaker, if so. If he's not running himself, he's going to definitely have a good, strong influence. And I don't know, we were talking about this the other day. Someone made the point that the more moderate Republicans would kick out the more extreme Republicans, or at least try to like reel them in. Opposite. Your Marjorie Taylor Greenes, your Lauren Boeberts are the future of the GOP. I mean, they're incredibly popular within the GOP. And they're all like, you know, Trump adjacent. Remember, he's a showman, so he's gonna tease shit. I think he won't run because he doesn't like the pressure. It's easier to talk shit from the outside. It's possible. I I think if they make the mistake of running Joe Biden, he will run. If they for some weird reason choose Joe Biden to run again for re-election, I think he'll actually run because he could win. Because he could win. Who else would run though? I mean, yeah, Harris. Harris could run. Oh man, 2024 is gonna be so rough if they don't get their act together. That's a good question. Who else would run? Yeah, who blinks first, basically. Hey, spread it forward. As a baby anarchist, I hate that we even have to care about this shit. True. But, unfortunately, we are, in a position where we have to, because if we don't, the other side does. And we're ceding that tool. That's wild, ADT, because Trump is going to be watching Biden for his announcement and vice versa. True. Yeah, but like, why would you run Biden again? It wouldn't make any sense in any imaginable... I mean, unless they do like some 180 turn and they start like seriously doing some like advancing like legislation, or they do like some massive programs that do really good. Maybe you could make an argument. Maybe you can make an argument for them running again, but like failure to do any of that, I don't know. He himself said he wanted to be a one-term president. I don't understand why he would try to like run again. Not only that, like no offense, but like kind of getting up there in age, Joe. I mean, same with Trump, but unless they do some like serious 180 turns and do some like sweeping legislation that seriously impacts the country in a positive direction, I don't see why they should run again. But Trump has to blink first because a challenger usually needs 2 years out. True. They're that delusional. Well, Trump is not known for logic. He's known for whatever catches headlines or shocking or gets eyes on him. So, interesting new study. TLDR. I was saying that the Dems are that delusional to run Biden again. Yeah, they would be. I think it would be a mistake, to be honest. I think it would be a mistake. New studies find evidence of superhuman immunity to COVID in some individuals. It turns out, and we just want to just run through this because I just found this interesting. If you have natural immunity to COVID and you have the vaccine on top of that, you get some hybrid immunity, which is unbelievably strong, and even so that they will transcend other coronaviruses, which is interesting. I wonder if we can develop a vaccine based on their antibodies, because that would be fascinating. They become more resistant to mutations within the virus. Antibodies seem to evolve and become not only more potent but also broader, which is fascinating. I wonder if I got this because I've been around people who were hot with the J&J vax and I've got all negative tests. I mean, if you've had it or if you, what you would want to do is test for antibodies and see if you've ever had it in any way, shape, or form, because your antibodies won't lie. But then again, you did have the J&J, so you might have the antibodies anyways. I don't know how that would work. Sorry, I would then defer to the experts at that point because I wouldn't know. Several other studies support her hypothesis and buttress the idea that exposure to both a coronavirus and an mRNA vaccine triggers an exceptionally powerful immune response. In one study published last month in the New England Journal of Medicine, scientists analyzed antibodies generated by people who had been infected with the original SARS virus back in 2002 or 2003, who then received an mRNA vaccine this year. Remarkably, these people also produce high levels of antibodies, and that's worth reiterating this point from a few paragraphs before. Antibodies that can neutralize a whole range of variants and SARS-like viruses. That is like unbelievable and interesting because like if you had the original COVID in 2002 or 2003, you also have a possibility of getting this hybrid immunity. Incoming drama generator. Hey, memo for the record. Did you see what streamer X said about streamer Y while watching streamer Z? Yeah, bro, I did. So, F streamer Y. Yeah. Yeah. Streamer Z is doof. I just walked in. What are we talking about? Hybrid immunity. Arminius. The motion tracking on that. Pretty goofy. I like it. I think it's cool. Welcome, welcome. So I think this is pretty fascinating. If you've had already COVID, the original SARS virus, or you've had COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-2, and you received the mRNA vaccine, you could potentially have the hybrid immunity. How can people know if they've had SARS in 2002? I would suspect you would know. I think you can also test for antibodies. However, as I told Base of PJ, I would just defer to the experts. I really don't know. But I would imagine there must be some type of way of testing for antibodies. I have a hard time getting my medical records. Ooh. I don't know if it's about medical records. I think you can get a antibody test. I would just ask your doctor. I'm anti-antibody. Nice. Immunologist John Wary. At the University of Pennsylvania, it's a bit more hopeful in our research. We already see some of this antibody evolution happening in people who are just vaccinated. Although it probably happens faster in people who have been infected. Interesting. Wait. Interesting. In a recent study published online in late August, Weary and his colleagues showed that over time, people who have had only 2 doses of the vaccine and no prior infection start to make more flexible antibodies. Antibodies that can better recognize any of the variants of concern. So a 3rd dose of the vaccine would presumably give those antibodies a boost and push the evolution of antibodies further. so a person will be better equipped to fight off whatever variant the virus puts out there next. Huh. What? Oh, this is excellent news. I'll stop with the silly jokes. I blame my pre-coffee brain. Okay, just take some coffee. It's all good. This is very good news. Based on all these findings, it looks like the immune system is eventually going to have the edge over this virus, and if we're lucky, SARS-CoV-2 will eventually fall into that category of viruses that only give us a mild cold. I hope so. I hope that this ends up being the case. So anyways, the TLDR of this would be vaccines work, and vaccines are incredibly powerful. I'm immunocompromised and just got my pneumonia vaccine for the first time. Oof. Well, I'm glad you got it, Arminius. So this is excellent news. It's better than I thought. I saw the CDC and it said it was going to continue mutating and stay and here to stay like the flu. Yeah, I mean, experts have been like floating that idea for quite some time, for months. However, it's just to what degree are we going to have to deal with this? If this is true, and our immune response is actually more robust than originally thought, it eventually would fall, thanks to antibodies that are given via the vaccine, eventually will fall into the category of viruses that only give us a mild cold. I hope that's probably the best case scenario. And we'll just deal with it like that. But that means those who are eligible for vaccinations should be vaccinated. I mean, like, it is highly recommended, especially if this is true. Even the folks who only had 2 doses have started to make more flexible antibodies, which can better recognize many of the variants of concern. So, I mean, it's just further proof that you should be vaccinated. Oh, who? Not CDC. Gotcha. Yeah, I've seen that being floated around. Even like as we were dealing with like this in a few months back, they were definitely concerned that this was just going to be endemic and here to stay. But I mean, that depends. Ain't we up to the Mu variant? When does it ever evolve into Mewtwo? No. I think it turns into something else. Yes, the Mu variant has been found. Is it Mew or Mu? Has been found in 49 states at this point. Like a cow. Okay, Mu. It is currently mutating at the rate of influenza per Scott Gottlieb. Gotcha. Yeah, I would suspect that. I would suspect that it is likely. It is a very, very possible scenario that we're just gonna have to accept the fact that this may be just endemic. However, if we have if we're vaccinated, then this will just be like another version. Just another version. A mild disease, a milder disease. But yeah, just get vaccinated. And now, a word from our dear leader.
I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccine.
Mandatory injections. Let's go.
Again from Kamala when there's an issue that she can't win on.
Kamala. Hold on. Hey, sourcing. In my opinion, we missed the opportunity to avoid a seasonal problem like the flu about 12 months ago. At least culturally, people lost the will to deal with this last summer. Yeah, so I assume what you're referring to is like, mask, like just as a cultural adaptation, just wear masks during like flu season and stuff. I mean, if you noticed, flu season was almost non-existent last year. I think this is a huge part of where we are.
Well,
right,
we've
Tommy.
seen this time and time again from Kamala when there's an issue that she can't win on, she just stays silent on it or she refuses to go. As
Give me your brilliant political, brilliant political analysis. Oh yeah. Amazing. I mean, if we're in the triage situation, I may be inclined to agree with you, Darknut. I may be inclined to agree with you. People got it in their head because a decent number of people didn't take it seriously, and those people were fine because enough of us were taking it seriously. So people were like, why am I staying at home? That person isn't, and they're fine. Yeah, I know. We can't have our hospitals stay full forever. True. True. So we gotta,
I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccine.
we saw with the border and we continue to see with the border. But going back to Gavin Newsom and the recall effort, this is a level of tone deaf that we haven't seen since the early days of American Idol auditions. The fact that we've got so many things going wrong in this country, the fact that we've got a Delta variant and whatever variant we're on now, the fact that we've got what's going on our border.
What? Huh? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time following.
The fact that we've got what's going on in Afghanistan, the gas prices, the inflation.
Whoa. Wait. Hold on. Hold on. These are all separate things and have separate explanations as to why they are the way they are. Okay? If you're trying to just jam all these up together and then say, oh yeah, that's all of this is Biden's fault. It's like, no.
All of this mess, and Kamala thinks, I know what I'll do. I'll go to California to campaign for Gavin Newsom. I mean...
She's the vice president. Wait. She's the vice president and a senator from California. Wait. So what do you want her to do? Okay.
It's stunning, really, how much they think that they can get away with. But Charlie's absolutely right. They believe that the American people are stupid. They believe that the American people sit on Instagram and TikTok all day and aren't paying attention.
I mean, you said it, not me.
To gas prices, aren't paying attention to food shortages, worker shortages, aren't paying attention to any of the other dumpster fires going on in this country. But I will say this, to Charlie's point, yes, Gavin Newsom has raised a whole lot of money from teachers, unions, and special interests and tech. But that money is not going to save him. The only thing that will save Gavin Newsom is voter fraud.
Yikes. That's right. It's all about the gish gallop. Trump literally out here campaigning for himself and others right now, no. Like Mo Brooks literally on the trail. Obviously, they're also on Twitter all day. True. True. Oh, man. This is some grade A political analysis.
So as they say, stay woke, pay attention to the
What?
voter fraud going on in California, because it's going to have big consequences not only for that state, but for upcoming elections. Every
What?
bad idea originates in California. And
What? Okay, hold on. All right, that's. Ooh, slow down there. This is Tommy. Okay. Hold on. One bullshit claim at a time, please. Hold on. California actually invented bad ideas. Exactly. Like emission standards. How dare they? Okay. Oh man, this is okay. So she's priming the pump because it seems she's priming the pump, and this is I would argue this is almost we're skirting some really fine lines of stochastic terrorism here. She is stoking the flames by priming the pump, saying if Gavin Newsom wins, it's because of voter fraud, without A, no evidence, and B, it hasn't happened yet. What? The reason why she's saying these things is because the recent polls are more or less shifting towards Gavin are shifting towards Gavin's favor, and that's why she's saying this. She's preemptively priming the pump to get people angry and then blame it on voter fraud, which evidence source? You gotta love their panels. With our luck, Elder's gonna win that recall, and then Dianne fucking Feinstein dies and the Arse get the Senate. Well, I don't want to say that's like a foregone conclusion, but if the Dems don't step it up, that's gonna be the case regardless. They're gonna lose the House, they're gonna lose the Senate, and if that happens, then in 2024 they're gonna lose the presidency. They're just gonna get swept. This is unbelievably irresponsible from her. But, you know, this is the classic stuff that you can find on Fox.
And that just happens to be where Kamala's from. No coincidence there.
Wait, is she, like, inadvertently accusing Kamala of, like, Kamala Harris of, like, engaging preemptively in voter fraud or something? What?
Yeah, and Kamala, Julie, it's not just Afghan women she's been silent on. What about the border? These kids in deplorable emergency intake facilities, these illegal immigrant children. She never speaks on that. Cuomo, virtually every Democrat spoke out against Cuomo, but Kamala was woefully silent. You'd think the first woman VP would speak out on some of these very key issues.
Yeah, this has all proven one thing to me, that the only reason that they had Kamala Harris as the VP on the ticket was to use her for being the first female vice president.
Well. Sorry, I'm muting the stream. I won't listen to Fox. Understandable. Understandable. Ooh. Yeah, it's this claim that really triggers me. Like, we're still rehashing the whole like there was some type of like conspiracy or massive voter fraud in 2020, and they're just trying to use that as a crutch. They're trying to use that as a crutch because apparently, according to the polls, it is shifting towards Gavin Newsom's favor, and now they're gonna be like, ha, yeah, the only way we could possibly lose is if they cheated, because of course we have it in the back. Like, what? Why are you preemptively making these claims? Sarah Palin logs into chat. You can tell what news stations people watch by the topics they bring up. Like my friend started talking about people left behind in Afghanistan. I instantly knew he listens to Glenn Beck. Oof. Yikes. Tucker already put that out there like 2 weeks ago. Really? Jesus. And I must have missed that one because I would have brought it up. Hugo Chavez's ghost is making Gavin Newsom win again. True. True. This is just unbelievably irresponsible. I don't know, like, you know, why they continue to allow this on cable news. Call the Fox tip hotline, the Fox tip line. Yeah, tell them about the ghost of Hugo Chavez, Dominion, Smartmatic. It's just unbelievable to me. Unironically, these people, like, if they continue down this path, continuously talking about how like every foundation of our institution is like fundamentally like broken, in terms of like you can't trust the voting system, and that they're taking away your country from you and things like that, they're going to cause another January 6th incident. Continually to act in this manner is irresponsible, and it's going to lead to another January 6th incident. I mean, it's sorry, but you can't just keep doing that, okay? You can't just keep speaking in this manner. Like, it's highly, highly irresponsible. Jesus. ADT saying it as I typed it. That's all they're going to do now. They're just going to preemptively say all elections are rigged and fake, and it's going to either A, turn into the boy who cried wolf, so then real election fraud can happen, or B, delegitimize elections and erode democracy. Yes, exactly, base of PJ. Yeah, I think we were basically going towards the same direction. Absolutely. And it's like, oh God, why are you people like this, man? Like, stop. Okay? You're going to cause a lot of harm. You're gonna cause a lot of harm. It's okay. Remember when people advocated for Medicare for all, and the conservative talking point was everyone had access? We wouldn't be able to have everyone because the lines would be so long, and how that exposed how fragile and weak our system actually is. Why should we continue along the same system, knowing healthcare can't help all of us? Only those with enough coins. We should start increasing the number of healthcare workers, healthcare supplies, etc. True. Irked with a Tier 1 subscription, 3 months. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. They got problems, true. Yeah, that was a great take. The problem is, it uses too much logic. True. Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate that. So, piggybacking off yesterday's article, an oil leak off the coast of Louisiana spread for miles and no one knows who is responsible. When Talos Energy was notified of an oil spill off the Louisiana coast after Hurricane Ida, the company said it sent a response team to the site. Divers found the leaking pipe in Bay Marchland on Sunday, and on Monday, Talos put a containment dome on it, which allows for the recovery of the release and transfer to surface vessel of the oil. Talos says its operations were not the source of the oil. The company said it had been contacted because it was a prior leasee of the block where the leak was, although it had stopped production there in 2017 and had isolated its wells and removed all the infrastructure. So who's responsible for the spill? That is yet to be determined. So we still don't know. We still don't know. It is unbelievable to me. And I'm sure that everybody in that area, all the oil companies are kind of looking at each other like, look, if nobody talks, nobody's in trouble. Now, it's all good, Eric. I hope you're doing alright. Nice. Base logics. Would be sad if something happened to it. I hate to be doomer. I hate to doom this shit, but like, how deep y'all think we're in the Weimar area? It depends. The pivoting moment, I think, will be what we do now. What we do here and now will be the pivoting moment. There is a chance to, there is a scenario where we don't put ourselves in that position, base of PJ. There is a scenario where we don't put ourselves in that situation. And that shouldn't be a big surprise given the number of old pipelines and abandoned wells in the Gulf of Mexico, according to Wilma Sabra, chemist and technical advisor at the nonprofit Louisiana Environmental Action Network. If you would look at all the pipelines on a map offshore, it looks like spaghetti. You just threw spaghetti in there. Pipelines are everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Holy yikes, Batman. There's a lot of pipelines out there, lots of old pipelines as well as new ones, and the ones that Talos, Talos has gotten rid of over the years. If QAnon types win these elections coming up, they're going to get their power base in government. Yep. If that happens, we are, that's not good. Hey, Thindera. I mean, if more QAnon folks start winning actual congressional seats, that would be disturbing. Alright, I wanted to get to this video because it looks interesting.
If you were wondering why this background is, not my bookshelf, I'm actually house sitting for someone right now, so that's why I have a slightly different setup, but hopefully that doesn't deter anyone. It's a white background. Very exciting. Hey y'all, it's Becky here from the Beccasphere, where we talk about climate news and solutions. You have entered the weekly climate recap, where we explore what is being done to mitigate and adapt to climate change. So today we are going to be covering news from August 27th to September 1st. So let's go ahead and get stared. In a memo to other U.S. Senate members, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said his office analysis concluded that the current...
I will say this. We went over I think it was a Twitter thread where where we saw like an article about Steve Bannon urging supporters and urging his folks to get involved in the local city councils, in the local state elections, everything. Get involved. And like, so the takeaway from that is, hey, they get it. They understand. We cannot, we cannot like feed that ground to them. Just saying, they understand the importance of getting the local the local elections and city councils and state
Spending
legislation.
bill and infrastructure plan would set the U.S. up for reaching 45% emissions reduction compared to 2005 levels by 2030, which would put us on track for the Paris Climate Agreement. And apparently, if then you were to add the April executive orders, it would bring us closer to 50% emissions drop. However, I'm a little skeptical on that part because the White House did just start releasing federal lands and coastal waters to fossil fuel companies, which was one of the executive orders, would be for them to stop doing that. So I'm not sure whether or not that statement was made before or after that executive order was kind of rolled over. But bottom line, these policies need to get passed, and the only way it seems like that's going to happen is if all Democrats are on board for this, because basically it's just going to get passed through party lines, because that's kind of what we've seen so far. Anyone want to prove me wrong? Feel free. And right now, the main Democrats at
No lies
risk
detected.
would be Joe Manchin from West Virginia and Kirsten Sinema from Arizona.
President Joe Manchin, Madam President Kirsten Sinema. True. Base of PJ. Democrats despise their base, Republicans cater to theirs. Well, I think, yeah, I think you're right in the sense that, like, Republicans are definitely more effective. Yes.
Bottom line, if you are from either of those states, please bug them and just be like, hey, I love that you are supporting climate action. I am so excited for you to vote yes on the infrastructure package and on the spending bill. We are so excited to see that pass.
Hey, Dustin.
Sorry to start it off a little politically heavy, but it's now or never, and we honestly don't know how those midterm elections are going to turn out. So there is a chance that if Democrats lose the majority in either the House or the Senate, then we would kind of be stonewalled in from doing anything else in the future having to do with climate. So it seems to be now or never. Russia released its new climate plan, but it actually says that it's going to increase its emissions by 8.2% by 2050 and just offset emissions by planting trees, restoring wetlands, and reducing wildfires. They're the fourth largest emitting country in the world. So firstly, it's kind of hard to obtain data on definitively saying how much carbon is being offset by doing things like planting trees and restoring wetlands. Experts have basically said straight up that you can't just rely on offsets to reduce your emissions. You got to do them in tandem. And the Carbon Action Tracker calls their plans critically insufficient. Mumbai became the first city in India and South Asia to announce it's in process of creating a climate action plan. Mumbai's climate action plan, or MCAP, will focus on 6 tracks: sustainable waste management, urban greening and biodiversity, urban flooding and water resource management, building energy efficiency, air quality, and sustainable mobility. They plan to complete their MCAP by COP26, and citizens are able to submit their recommendations to the panel by September 20th. Oh, I forgot to say earlier, if I'm looking down in this direction, my iPad's here, and that's just because I need to read off of it. Okay, let's keep going. India as a whole also does have a climate action plan, which was developed in 2008. I'll go ahead and leave a link to that whole report in the resource section below. The General Assembly for the International Union for Conservation of Nature, or IUCN, is meeting this week to talk about how to protect the world's flora and fauna. It will include representatives from more than 217 territories and nations, 18,000 experts, and 1,400 NGOs, businesses, and scientific institutions. And for the first time, it will also include 23 indigenous organizations representing every single continent. And they will be able to introduce motions, vote for or against resolutions and recommendations, and overall just have their voice heard more than ever before. Quote, "We have been fighting for 40 years to be included in the UN's international system and other international spaces to defend the identity, culture, and lands of indigenous peoples. We know that if we don't go to international meetings, solutions will not come to us." The White House opened a new office in the Department of Health and Human Services that focuses on human health implications of climate change. Called the Office of Climate Change and Health Equity, the office will take a look at both sides, so both how carbon emitters are hurting human health and how...
True. People say we need to blame countries like India when they're literally doing 10 times more than us. True. I wish we did this decades ago. True. True.
How climate change, extreme weather events are hurting human health. The HHS secretary had this to say, quote, "The climate crisis is here, and the Department of Health and Human Services is rising to meet the challenge. We're going to use every tool at our disposal." The HHS requested $3 million from Congress for next year, but until then, they're going to draw from existing resources. Last week, we talked about the Permian Basin in and around Texas, where there's a lot of methane emissions being released by unpermitted flaring activity from fossil fuel plants. Well, this week, we're going to talk about Europe. Specifically Romania. Romania is leading methane emissions in the EU via its oil and gas production infrastructure. Mainly, the country has a lot of old infrastructure, which ends up being vulnerable to leaking. This presents a local health problem too. Many of these sites have communities near them, and if you've seen my recent deep dive on fossil fuels and plastics, methane can disperse into local water systems to the extent where it can actually cause tap water to catch on fire. And there's also a lot of other dangerous chemicals that can leak from that infrastructure, like benzene and formaldehyde, both of which cause cancer. A Clean Air Task Force member, also known as the CATF, visited 26 oil wells and determined that 25 of them were leaking methane. Quote, "As we walked around, we could quickly smell the fumes from the wells. We assumed right when we turned the camera on, we would see some gas coming from the wells." And they did. And locals in those areas says that they always smell like that and that they're just kind of used to it. And there's a lot of kids living in those areas. Yikes. While there are 50 methane leaking sites in Romania, there are also 150 others across 7 other European countries. The CATF foreign director had this to say about the larger issue, quote, "To be honest, there's no policy, no regulation whatsoever for this stuff in Europe. This is why the European Commission has to act. This is why the European Parliament has to act.
Right, that's right,
There's
Memo.
no rules these guys are breaking." I'll leave the article in the source section below. It's really interesting. Highly recommend. Hundreds of sports stars in Australia signed an online petition called The Cool Down to ask the government to do more on climate change. The group had this to say, quote, "Like so many Australians, we've experienced the impacts of climate change firsthand. But at the moment, if climate action was the Olympics, Australia isn't winning gold. We're not even making the finals. In fact, we don't even qualify." Central banks can't seem to kick the habit of funding fossil fuels. They've supplied them with $3.8 trillion worth of financial flow from 2016 to 2020. None of the 12 central banks, which are from the US, the UK, the EU, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Switzerland, China, India, Japan, and Russia, are on track to hit their emissions reduction goals. The only good news, I guess, is that we only know all this because they're being more transparent.
My ADHD kicks in every time the topic is climate change. I can never follow. I get it. Yay, and no one is responsible. Just like we saw in this recent pipeline leak memo. Nobody knows who it belongs to. Nobody's speaking up. Nobody's saying, oh, this is mine. Nope. Everybody's just quiet.
And they also have been improving their reporting of climate-related risks. And many insist that they are on track of reaching their 2050 reductions goals for their facilities themselves. In response to the central bank's actions, or inactions, hundreds led by the Extinction Rebellion blocked London's financial district and London's Tower Bridge for 2 weeks' worth of protests. The bridge has since been reopened with 11 people arrested. We often think that people over 50 are less interested in solving climate change, but a recent UK survey proves otherwise. 2/3 of British people that are over 50 years old want ministers to do more to mitigate and adapt to climate change, even if it means raising prices on things. The founder of the company Rest Less, which conducted the survey, said this about the results. Quote, "Our research shows that midlifers feel a huge sense of responsibility for the health of the planet and their role in reducing climate change. Many have been changing their habits to reduce their impact, such as driving less, eating less meat and dairy, and also reducing their home energy consumption." A new company, which started up on EVs, seems to really be building to stay. Rivian is backed by companies such as Ford, BlackRock, and Amazon, and it has raised over $10 billion. It is hoping for a $70 to $80 billion valuation around Thanksgiving, which, to give you a little context, Ford's market capitalization is currently around $52 billion. So if they get anywhere near $70 or $80 billion, that would be unheard of.
True memo.
Hurricane Ida. Yeah, you thought I wouldn't talk about that? Ah, come on. It's kind of like one of the biggest news points right now. Hurricane Ida touched down in Louisiana on Sunday as a Category 4, quickly becoming the strongest hurricane in Louisiana's history since Katrina 16 years ago. And by the way, it, I believe, hit Louisiana on Katrina's
16th anniversary. True. I think even right-wing boomers are coming around on climate change. Some are. We need more people. We need more people.
Anniversary. So, yikes. Ida was stronger but smaller than Katrina, and it has now impacted Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, West Virginia, Kentucky, Maryland, and now New York and New Jersey as a post-tropical cyclone. Central Park saw 3.15 inches of rainfall in 1 hour. Let me repeat that. They had over 3 inches of rain fall in 1 hour, which is almost a record. While the area is definitely not new to hurricanes are rapidly intensifying closer to landfall more than they used to, allowing them to last longer over land. Honestly, Hurricane Ida will probably also make record for the fastest extreme weather event to quickly be attributed to climate change, because before it even hit down, news organizations immediately started talking about climate change in the context of Hurricane Ida. I've never seen any extreme weather events be connected that quickly and confidently by news organizations.
And make a point. What is, like, wait, what are you talking about, Shleem? Are you okay? Are you okay, buddy? The point is, these are climate news headlines. She's just going over headlines, dude. Are you okay? Did you like not have your coffee this morning?
Organizations before. So that could potentially be some good news coming out of it. Many of those news organizations basically pointed out that the Gulf of Mexico waters are basically like bathtub temperature. They're 85 degrees right now, which is several degrees above average for them. And that could have increased the energy of the hurricane, bringing about faster wind speeds and larger storm surges. Basically, if you want to learn more about how hurricanes are worsened by climate change, I did a video on that a little while ago, which I'll link in above and below for you to check out. Many parts of Louisiana, though, are now without power, leaving people vulnerable to carbon monoxide poisoning if they don't use heat generators correctly. Basically, don't use heat generators in an enclosed space. They're also running out of fuel in some places and even oxygen in.
Yeah, the IPCC report also made this point where as it gets warmer, the storms get stronger. Floods and tornadoes from New Orleans to New York is insane. Yeah, it's
medical facilities, and several medical facilities had to evacuate their patients before the hurricane hit. And some areas are also.
I'm sorry. Like, do you never help yourself ever? Is what I see. What? What? Are you okay, dude? Like, did you? Like I said, did you just not drink your coffee this morning? Like, I'm sorry, but like my patience is a little bit low today. So like, look at what she's saying. What are you talking about? She's pointing out the disaster that happened in Louisiana. That's it. That's literally it. Holy yikes.
Struggling to obtain clean drinking water. Bottom line, it's a mess over there. But it could have been a bigger mess over there than it actually was, because the levees, flood walls, and floodgates that let Louisianans down in New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina actually held thanks to the $14.5 billion of retrofits that happened after Katrina. That's not to say that nowhere in Louisiana flooded. There were definitely a bunch of suburbs that did flood, so that's still an issue. But the death count will be a lot lower than Katrina thanks to those retrofits. However, experts are concerned that this is just a temporary reprieve.
Apparently, Darknet.
It does not mean that the lesson of Hurricane Ida is that metropolitan.
Yes. Clearly, you need to be a qualified MD to be able to talk about news headlines that happened. Apparently.
New Orleans has adequate hurricane protection. It means it had adequate protection against this storm surge. As the system is challenged by stronger and more frequent hurricanes,
but I'm a computer biologist.
I think many experts are concerned about the rather low level of protection that New Orleans has.
Wait till Tucker hears about this.
Most fossil fuel plants batten down the hatches, as they usually do when hurricanes happen, environmental problems are starting to show up. So there might have been a couple releases of crude oil fuel oil and related chemicals from certain areas of Louisiana where there is a large concentration of fossil fuel plants and petrochemical sites. Which
that's
is
so
another
terrible.
thing that I talked about in my most recent deep dive. Honestly, my deep dive, it was about plastics, but I did talk a lot about the issue of like fracking and petrochemical sites and health impacts of those things in Louisiana. So if you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. Louisiana just has so many things that are related to climate change that are hurting them right now. And to add to that, the National Weather Service has issued a heat advisory for many parts of Louisiana for Wednesday. And that is, again, keeping in mind that many Louisianans are still without power, so they will not have AC for that heat advisory.
Yikes. Take a second to think, to let that one sink in. They just had a massive hurricane knock out a whole bunch of their power. And now, today actually, today's Wednesday, are under a heat advisory. It just doesn't end. It just doesn't end. Welcome to the new norm, folks. Oh, I didn't I didn't mean it like that, Eric. I don't know if that was like a unintended pun. But yeah, point is, it just doesn't end for these folks. And I'm sure that all of the areas will be affected like this. Oh, it's an old meme? Oh, okay. Am I showing off like my boomer status for not understanding the meme? No power plus heat advisory? Oof. What an amazing new level of hell they've discovered. Oh yeah, and, you know, as things continue, that's just gonna be the norm. And these fossil fuel junkies are hanging on to that money as if it's the 50s and we need that shit true.
A research group headed by an oceanographer and engineer from the Southern Cross University in Australia is executing the world's first field trial to brighten marine clouds in an attempt to cool down the coral reefs and reduce coral bleaching in the Great Barrier Reef. Cloud brightening, not coral brightening, because that's coral bleaching and that's bad. Cloud brightening is an example of the controversial geoengineering. Basically, the program is paid for by the $220,000 Australian Reef Restoration and Adaptation Program, but scientists outside of Australia are concerned about the trial because there's little published about the group's work. But you can see what is known about their work by checking out the source in the source section down below, because there is some interesting information about what they have tried before. Massachusetts administration announced that it would spend $21 million on climate change resiliency projects through the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program, double of what they spent.
I'm sorry, hold on. I was just thinking about that previous comment, and it is a little bit triggering. Isn't she like a climate, doesn't she have like credentials for climate change, for climate science? I could have sworn she was like a yes, she has a background in environmental science and journalism. Yeah, so get fucked. Sorry, that really triggers me. And the power in my whole ass town just completely cut off for about an hour this morning. Yikes. Sorry, you're right. Hell, it's not Dr. Becky. Sorry, you're right.
Last year. 93% of communities have opted into this
Very
program.
old meme, like the front door.
Quote,
oh,
the
let
MBP
that sink in.
program is a vital tool in our efforts to prepare and strengthen our coastal and inland communities to address
that sounds
the
like a
impacts of
bad
climate
joke.
change. We are thrilled to welcome 16 new towns to the program as they take important steps in planning for the future, and to award funding to 66 priority implementation projects that range from upgrading or removing high-risk dams and culverts to investing in environmental justice communities. You might remember last week that the Biden administration opened up federal leasing for federal lands and coastal waters to fossil fuel companies after the fossil fuel companies and the American Petroleum Institute sued the administration for the executive order saying that he would no longer lease out federal lands. Well, now Earth Justice is suing the Biden administration on behalf of the Sierra Club, Healthy Gulf, Friends of the Earth, and the Center for Biological Diversity for reopening 80 miles of Gulf of Mexico waters to oil and gas companies. An Earth Justice attorney had this to say, quote, This lease sale is deeply disappointing. The Biden administration has folded to the oil industry based on its campaign of disinformation and political pressure, ignoring the worsening climate emergency we face. Our planet cannot handle more stress from oil and gas production, and yet the Biden administration is plowing ahead with a lease sale that will have impacts for decades into the future. And speaking of oil and gas production, Sarawak Shell Berhad, I probably butchered that, sorry. A subsidiary of Royal Dutch Shell is moving forward with the Timi gas project offshore of Malaysia, hoping for a peak of 50,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day.
Same.
The project claims to be green, though, because it will be powered by solar and wind power to reduce its emissions.
Or, and hear me out, or you could start moving towards infrastructure that will power, that will power everything with renewables, and you could be a part of it. But, whatever. Boo this man. Boo. They're trying to upgrade our local grid to support the massive influx of wind turbines. TD Gas Project is the name of my power station cover band. True Earth. This is so...
Yes, I do feel so much better. Similarly, Indonesia approves the Ubadari natural gas field, which will pump out an additional 1.3 trillion cubic feet of gas beginning in 2026. That will include more pumped from the Vorwada gas field with the additional carbon capture, utilization, and storage technology. They basically plan to recycle the carbon dioxide back into the process, reducing up to 90% of reservoir-associated CO2. And then CNOOC, China's largest offshore oil and gas producer, has announced plans to inject up to 300,000 tons of CO2 per year from its offshore production process 80 meters down into seabed reservoirs in the South China Sea. It's also increasing its green energy spending to 10%.
This is so, disheartening. Yeah, I only put solar-powered gas in my car, true.
As it works to reach carbon neutrality by 2060. Also in China, Sinopec Corp, Asia's biggest oil refiner, plans to spend $4.6 billion to produce more than 1 million tons of green hydrogen per year from now to 2025. It currently produces 3 million tons of hydrogen from non-renewable sources, so that would be blue hydrogen or gray hydrogen. There's other colors too, but those are the main ones. Black hydrogen, I think, too. But that's from coal. I hope not. It has also built 20 hydrogen charging stations with plans for 60 more, and it plans to expand its solar power generation. Meanwhile, Madagascar is the first example of what is considered a climate change-induced famine. At least it's the first to be attributed to climate change. Around 300,000 people there are experiencing extreme food insecurity, with 1.1 million people experiencing at least some food insecurity, according to the World Food Program. This drought is in its fourth year now, which has been compounded by sandstorms that then cover and kill the crops. Scientists say it wouldn't be this bad if not for climate change, and they see South Africa experiencing similar effects in the coming years. This also emphasizes the unequal reality of climate change, considering Madagascar only represents 0.01% of greenhouse gas emissions globally. Quote, going by the statistics, over the past 20 years, there's been a 500% increase in the number of countries exposed to multiple types of climate extremes. We are seeing the effects of climate all over South Africa. Angola.
Well, specifically because that's unprecedented. I mean, to be quite frank, Dustin, this is a global phenomenon, so you can probably point to a place on the map anywhere, and you will be able to find climate, extreme weather events and extreme events. I mean,
is also experiencing food shortages associated with climate change, resulting in many people there migrating to Namibia. California has closed all of its national forests due to wildfire risk. The closure started Tuesday and is expected to go until September 17th. And this hits hard for the national forests and park systems because they are usually quite busy during Labor Day, which is this Monday. The Calder fire has also forced South.
It is a global problem. Point on the map and you'll see. Even genuine carbon neutrality and net zero emissions would not stop climate change for decades. It would put a ceiling on the severity of it, though. So yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it that we should be doing that as quickly as possible in as many ways as possible, and to do that now before, because if we don't, even though you're right, it would not stop climate change up to a certain point. We can lower the severity of it.
Lake Tahoe to evacuate, causing a huge traffic panic. New research out of the University of Chicago's Energy Policy Institute found that the average person is losing 2.2 years of life expectancy to air pollution. This number is definitely dependent on where you live. The worst place to live for air pollution seems to be India, where people can lose almost 6 years of their life expectancy from it. For Bangladesh and Nepal, it's around 5 years. The report contains new evidence showing that climate change is worsening air quality through things like wildfires. The U.S. Treasury, particularly the Federal Insurance Office, or FIO, is soliciting information on topics like data to assess the potential for major disruptions of private insurance in markets, especially vulnerable to climate change. This effort would affect the FIO's work with the states. The Netherlands Advertising Code Committee ruled that Shell misled customers with a carbon offsetting campaign that promised carbon neutral fossil fuels to consumers.
Wait, hold on. I'm no scientist, but explain to me how a fossil fuel company is going to become carbon neutral. Square that circle for me.
How, might you ask? Well, the campaign, called Drive CO2 Neutral, tells customers that for 1 extra cent per liter of gas, they can completely offset their vehicles' emissions by funding conservation projects in Canada, Peru, and Indonesia.
What?
But Shell did not have enough information to prove that this would actually offset emissions from using their gas. Unfortunately, though, the results are not backed by any law, but they basically just told Shell to pull out that campaign. A State of the World's Trees report found that up to half of the world's wild tree species are at risk of extinction, mainly due to deforestation brought on by agricultural practices. Madagascar has the most threatened species, with Brazil close behind. The 5-year international report's lead had this to say, quote, "Trees are essential. It's like a Jenga tower. Pull the wrong one out and the whole ecosystem falls apart. When I look at these numbers, I feel we need to act now." And finally, I'm going to leave you with a little action point. Ads Not Fit to Print is an activism campaign targeting the New York Times for running fossil fuel advertisements that are often full of propaganda and usually right next to journalism work, so it kind of looks like journalism pieces when they're not. Kind of like what I said earlier about the Axios thing, but I actually haven't seen a Chevron commercial from them in a little while, so that's good. And honestly, it's a shame because the journalists at the New York Times have been doing a really good job in covering climate news recently, so don't blame the journalists, but blame the company, you know what I mean? And so if you would like to help encourage the New York Times to stop doing that, then you can sign the petition, which will be linked in the resources section below. And you can also see where fossil fuel companies are also advertising by checking out the Instagram at Fossil Fuel Ads. It looks like Politico also seems to really be having a problem with the fossil fuel advertising too. So maybe if the New York Times figures their stuff out, we should direct the campaign towards Politico. Anyways, until next time, remember to talk about the climate crisis every single day and to support your local news organizations. And I will see you all next time. Bye for now.
Who reads? I just have the streamers read for me. True. That's why I'm here. Just think of the price of a flight would be if a passenger had to pay for the carbon capture to nullify their flight. I don't know if that's even possible. I don't know if that's even possible.
So I'm going to show you some
quick meme story, and then we'll get into it.
Something today, which is notable because it's a total scam on two levels. This is sort of rare. Alex Jones still has a show, conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. He has a show. It's not really appearing in many places because he's been banned from YouTube, Facebook, I think Spotify, and others. InfoWars conspiracy theorist Alex Jones had a complete and total meltdown over ivermectin. Okay? In the segment, Alex Jones purports to take ivermectin for his audience to prove to them it's safe and it's great. Now, there are two scams here, and I'm not going to say either is more important to understand than the other. Both are really important to understand. The first scam is that Alex Jones doing this means anything about the safety or efficacy of ivermectin for COVID. We've actually looked at studies, there are no actual RCTs, double-blind RCTs, randomly controlled trials, that tell us ivermectin does anything good prophylactically or for active treatment of COVID.
So in other words, we don't have a we don't have the consensus to indicate that ivermectin by itself is a useful treatment for COVID. That's what it's saying. There may have been some anecdotal success here and there. I believe we went over like one potential study. However, the consensus is, well, we just can't say that ivermectin is a suitable treatment for COVID, and it seems like the medical community is behind that too.
You look at Joe Rogan, who took ivermectin and 6 other things for something from which most people recover anyway, right? I mean, doesn't mean we don't take it seriously, but most people recover. And you see that he took ivermectin and azithromycin and monoclonal antibodies, all these different things. That's not anything. That's nothing. That doesn't tell us anything.
Correct, because, well, he did take monoclonal antibody treatments, which are highly effective at treating COVID. We know that. We have we know that for sure because, well, we have the plurality of data to indicate that these are effective treatments. The same with I believe, my sister's hospital is using Regeneron. Regeneron? Is it Regeneron or Remdesivir? But anyways, the point is, these are first of all, developed for COVID, and second of all, proven. Apparently, Peter Coffin is promoting ivermectin now. Well, they would be wrong.
When you look at actual studies, the study people tend to point to on ivermectin is an Egyptian study where there was ivermectin versus hydroxychloroquine, no placebo group. It's not rigorous. It's simply not rigorous. So Alex Jones taking ivermectin on his show doesn't actually tell us anything. Second part is it actually sort of looks like Alex Jones only pretends to take the pills
No
and
way.
actually drops it under his desk and doesn't even take the pill. So
please, oh my God, is there video of this?
It may be a scam on that level as well. So let's start looking at the video and see what we can make of it. I would get the kids out of the room for this one. That's a disclaimer. Let's go.
Here, people. Overhead shot, please. You know what this is? This is ivermectin for humans that won a Nobel Prize as an antiviral. And this is inhalable, or these are the tablet steroids.
Now, hold on.
So let me show you.
Okay, so let's stop right there.
Yeah, hold on.
First of all, the steroid. Why would you take a steroid unless you need it? Steroids are not prophylactic for viruses. Steroids reduce inflammation, which is why sometimes they're given. We were looking at dexamethasone when people have real lung compromise. You give dexamethasone to reduce the inflammation and maybe allow the lungs to heal. But steroids suppress the immune system, and they can actually extend how long it takes to clear the virus. So why you would randomly take a steroid unless you're sick and it's been prescribed? Steroids have so many side effects from a mental health standpoint. They can cause mania, panic attacks, insomnia. It's crazy, right? The whole prednisone is one of the things Rogan took, and that's why it's here. But I think Alex Jones mostly focuses in on the ivermectin. So let's continue.
I was going to do this anyways earlier. See this?
Watch closely.
See this, Fauci? You see this, Bill Gates? I'm going to kill those prions, you bastard murderers, and hit with a bomb.
Wait, okay. What? Hold on. Let me just fast forward that because that seems a little bit... Whew. That seems a little bit yikesy there. Dang it, Alex Jones. Okay, so ivermectin is not a preventative measure. So why would you take it preemptively, right? I thought the whole point of it, in theory, like the whole like brouhaha about it, is that it was supposed to be a treatment. Why are you taking it as a... This is how incoherent it's become.
To suppress me? You want to kill me, you son of a bitch? You goddamn demon? You think I'm easy to kill? Think I'm gonna roll over to your crap?
So listen, I've looked at this a few times. It does look to me like when Alex Jones is making a big to-do of grabbing his water or beer or whatever he's using to slug this, it looks like he sort of just drops the pill under his desk. I don't know. We'll look at it one more time and continue. I think the point is, whether he really took it or not, it doesn't actually change anything about ivermectin. I think he might have dropped the pill below his desk.
You goddamn demon? You think I'm easy to kill?
Oh, I see.
Think I'm gonna roll over to your crap?
No.
No. And Joe Rogan kicked your murdering ass too. You'd love to bury him too, you little monster maggot.
Yeah, okay, I see that, Eric.
He's in this National Geographic piece about, oh, I don't usually deal with my enemies right away. I get them later. Yeah, you creep up on with a poison injection, dressed up in a lab coat, you little Joseph Mengele, Nuremberg Code violating monster.
So these are analogies to Nazi experimenters in terms of public health officials right now.
You damn monster.
I'm sorry.
I don't know that he's really taking the pills.
See, our little cancer proteins like that. Nobel Prize winning for humans. Nobel Prize winning for humans. Nobel Prize winning for humans.
Agree,
Nobel Prize winning for humans.
So here he's actually having what appears to be a psychotic break.
Nobel Prize winning for humans. What, 2005? Nobel Prize winning for humans. Oh, Joe Rogan. He went and drank the horse paste. He's stupid. I bet he got it from Alex Jones. They're both so dumb.
Yeah, except, I looked into this. I looked into this, and apparently, this was back in February. The heck? Thank you, Windows Defender. I appreciate that. Yeah, he can go so... This isn't even his final form, folks. I actually looked into this, and it seems like, yes, he may have made that statement. However, till this day, as far as I can find, Japan's approved treatments for ivermectin are, for COVID-19 are some type of antibody treatment and another prescription. I forget what it was called. Ivermectin is not on that list as of yet. No. And the operative word here is recommends. So no, they are not. They never approved this. They never approved this in Japan. It just didn't happen.
They're both gonna be dead. Yeah, that's why Joe's worth like $300 million. Yeah, he's real stupid. That's why he lives in a $60 million house on the river. You leftists taking all the shots and dying are the dumbasses. He's the one that...
Wait. Who are all these leftists that are taking the shots and dying? Can somebody explain that one to me? I'm still here.
Headlines with Dave Chappelle. Not you. You're stupid. And I sure wish you'd wake up. But you sit there calling me stupid, an independent media person that built the biggest independent media operation in the world, that changed the whole paradigm with my badass listeners, and you sit around and laugh at
Yeah, you're
us? Medical doctors gave that to me. It is incredible. It helped my family. It helped me. It helped everybody. And it's approved for humans for all sorts of viral stuff. But that murderer Fauci doesn't want you to know because he wants the planet for himself and he wants you dead. Well,
what? Oh, okay. Yeah, buddy. Sure.
Guess what, Fauci? We ain't rolling over and dying so easily, you little murderer.
Okay, so that's pretty serious stuff. Now, imagine seeing that and saying, whoa, you know what? It seems like a pretty logical thing to take ivermectin based on what I saw. And obviously, no sensible person could watch that and come away with that belief. A complete and total meltdown from Alex Jones. But unfortunately, for the people that hear him talk about his supplements and colloidal silver and, you know, who knows what, and they buy that stuff, it's not that different to hear him talk about taking ivermectin and prednisone. And, I mean, he might have been high on steroids. That mania could be steroid-induced mania for all we know, if he's really taking it for no reason. So there's two scams here. I already told you about them. But then on top of that, there's the sort of social tragedy, the public tragedy of people who get medical advice from Alex Jones. And it's just a sad state of affairs for the country, folks. Really, really sad state of affairs.
Oh, no, David. No. You can chill on your own time. I mean, what's there to say? Like, people, ideally, if you have a platform, no matter how big or how small, you should be responsible in what you say and how you say it. I mean, like, that's it. You can seriously hurt people by the stuff that you say. I mean, if you encourage your audience to take something and that something isn't, like, being used in the way it was designed to be used as, and it ends up hurting people, that's on you in a roundabout way. So, like, yeah, the TLDR is, like, please be responsible, and, like, just don't get medical advice from, like, Alex Jones. Please. Please. Unless there's a consensus in the medical community about X, Y, or Z, I would just defer to the experts. Please. Truth to extremism delivers personal revenue these days. Yeah, like, I guess it's all about saying the most wacky, out there, controversial things to get attention on you, I suppose. But, like, that hurts people. I'm sorry. And, like, people don't, since people don't, like, don't understand, and I don't mean that to be, like, condescending, because, like, I don't understand the full, like, ramifications of X, Y, or Z when it comes to, like, medicine. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, nor am I a professional, nor do I claim to be any of these things, but, which is why I only say things behind the wall of the plurality of research, right? I mean, I couldn't sleep. I honestly, well, maybe, I don't know. It's quite possible that Alex Jones is telling the truth when he says he's playing a character. But even if he is, even if he doesn't believe any of this, how does he sleep at night? Because, like, people, again, I don't mean to be condescending, but, like, people don't understand, and they will literally go out to, like, Tractor Supply and buy something that's not designed for them, and end up, like, getting really sick, you know? They end up getting really sick, or in some cases, pooping out their stomach lining, because yeah, but no one yells like Alex Jones does. True. So he must be onto something. What is the current discussion? Well, we were having a brief discussion about the severity, or I guess the responsibility that people have, those who have platforms, or those who are media, those who are politicians, leaders, anybody and anyone who is in any of these type of categories have a responsibility to their audience. What they say and how they say it matters. People like Alex Jones are incredibly irresponsible and incredibly damaging. Yikes. I don't know fit to mention. So yeah, we had a brief discussion about that. At this point in time, we are switching gears to our I'm also happy to just talk politics. I have a California-based I mean, I'm not in California, but hey, shoot. Page 81, folks. I don't know who's worse, Alex Jones or Tucker. I think Tucker's worse. I think Tucker's worse because Tucker has like a national like platform, and he's one of the, if not the highest, cable news host in the evenings. So I think he's more dangerous in terms of like he has absolutely much more reach, by far. Yes, and Spread It Forward just kind of like pointed out a good point here. Tucker's also taken serious by people of power, not like Alex Jones, who just one look and you can be like, okay, this guy's already off his rocker, and we can just disregard him. But Tucker is seen as a reasonable, logical voice who doesn't cuss and who doesn't say like outwardly, although he's getting a little bit more comfortable, but he doesn't say anything too outwardly, and he couches it in like a perfect drawn monologues and show. Like the way he does it is unfortunately incredibly effective. This section, okay, so folks, meanwhile, Sir Levin, if you want to post that question, fair. Meanwhile, page 81, Tucker's pushing great replacement conspiracy. Oh yeah, he does all these things all the time. I'm saying that he couches it perfectly and just kind of like sweetens, throws in the sweet pill and just gets his audience very comfortable with these ideas. DDT spill and coincidence. No one was off. One was off the coast of Cali. Yikes. All right, folks. Page 81. Eric gifting a tier 1 sub. Dark Knight Hitman, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Regional climate change. This section focuses on how to generate regional climate change information and its relevance for climate services, the drivers of regional climate variability and change, and how they're being affected by anthropogenic factors, and observed, attributed, and projected changes in climate, including extreme events and climate-driven and climate impact drivers. Across all the regions of the world, there is a small set of climate impact drivers, changes common to all land and ocean regions, and a specific set of changes from a broad range of CIDs seen in each region. This regional diversity results from regional climate being determined by a complex interplay between the seasonal to multi-decadal variation of large-scale modes of climate variability, external natural and anthropogenic forcings, local climate process, and related feedbacks. Climate change information at a regional scale is generated using a range of data sources and methodologies, multi-model ensembles, and models with a range of resolutions that are important data sources, and discarding models that are fundamentally misrepresent relevant processes, improve the credibility of ensemble information related to these processes. A key methodology is distillation, combining lines of evidence and accounting for stakeholder context and values, which helps ensure the information is relevant, useful, and trusted for decision making. High confidence. Since AR5, physical climate storylines have emerged as complementary approach to ensemble projections to generate more accessible climate information and promote a more comprehensive treatment of risk. They have been used as part of the distillation process within climate services to generate the required context-relevant, credible, and trusted climate information. Since AR5, climate change information has produced for climate services has increased significantly due to scientific and technological advancements and growing user awareness requirements and demand. High confidence. The decision-making context, level of user engagement, and co-production between scientists, practitioners, and users are important determinants of the type of climate service developed and its utility in supporting adaptation, mitigation, and risk management decisions. True. I will agree that the recall process, if I'm not opposed necessarily to having a system in place where you could recall a elected official, and I think that if it has the sufficient guardrails that it isn't used as a political weapon, if it has the sufficient guardrails, I would say that every elected official should have the should be able to be recalled. But I don't know, 3% of the population can elect. Yikes. Ooh. But it should follow the same process as a regular election. Maybe. I wouldn't know off the top of my head what would be a system, the right system, but definitely not in a way where 3% of the population could suddenly elect a governor. That makes absolutely no sense. So in that, I will agree. Clearly, we need a better system. Other than that, I mean, I would love if all if we had a across the board system where we can literally recall any elected official, but it just can't be like this. There are literally 50 people running against Gavin Newsom. Yikes, I didn't know it was that many. On the plus side, it looks like the polls are tilting in his direction. Climate change information at regional scale is generated using a range of data sources and methodologies. Understanding observed regional climate change and variability is based on the availability and analysis of multi-observational datasets that are suitable for evaluating the phenomena of interest. Example, extreme events, including accounting for observational uncertainty. These datasets are combined with climate model simulations of observed changes and events to attribute causes to those changes and events to large and regional scale, anthropogenic and natural drivers, and to assess the performance of the models. Future simulations with many climate models, multi-model ensembles, are then used to generate and quantify ranges of projected regional climate responses. Discarding models that fundamentally misrepresent relevant processes of projected processes improve the credibility of regional climate information generated from these ensembles. High confidence. However, multi-model mean and ensemble spread are not a full measure of the range of projection uncertainty and are not sufficient to characterize low likelihood, high impact changes, or situations where different models simulate substantially different or even opposite changes. High confidence. Large single model ensembles are now available and provide a more comprehensive spectrum of possible changes associated with internal variability. Depending on the region of interest, representing regionally important forcings, example aerosol, land use change and ozone concentrations and feedbacks, example between snow and albedo, soil moisture and temperature, soil moisture and precipitation, and climate models is a prerequisite for them to reproduce past regional trends to underpin the reliability of future projections. Medium confidence. Like a little bug. In some regions, either geographical, example Central Africa, Antarctica, or topological, mountain areas, small islands, and cities, and for certain phenomena, few observational records are available or accessible, which limits the assessment of regional climate change in these cases. Methodologies such as statistical downscaling, bias adjustment, and weather generators are beneficial as an interface between climate model projections and impact modeling for deriving user-relevant indicators. High confidence. However, the performance of these techniques depends on that of the driving climate model. In particular, bias adjustment cannot overcome all consequences of unresolved or strongly misrepresented physical processes such as large-scale circulation biases or local feedbacks. That's unbelievable. If he gets voted out, whoever gets the most votes, even 3% is like our new governor. Jesus Christ. Why didn't they propose a recall in Michigan instead of trying to kidnap and kill her for treason? Well, I don't. Does Michigan have that? I don't know. The polls are based on calling people, but most people they call don't even know when the election is happening. Ooh, yikes. So is the only solution right now canvassing and phone banking? Yeah, like spread awareness and like get people on board because turnout is going to be a thing. I mean, 3%. Yikes, 3%. That's wild. That's wild. Folks, just really quickly, if you're in California or know somebody in California, please pay attention to this. Please check your mail or go to the website, the California Register website. Make sure you're registered, make sure that you have what you need, and pay attention to when that's happening because that is important coming up. So just please be aware, or if you know somebody in California, please shoot them a message and tell them, you know, hey, this is coming up. So just please be aware. That is my PSA. Voter apathy is a real thing. Yeah, and it's a problem. So yeah, just please. That's not 2040, so why should I care? Oof. It's not that far away. 2040 is not that far away. Sir 11, thank you for the follow. Sorry, I hit my keyboard. It's all good. Thank you for the raid. Bun clap is a racist emote. What is bun clap? What? Oh. Bad Bunny clapping? That's racist? What? I'm so lost. Anyways. The attribution of observed changes in extremes to human influence, including greenhouse gas and aerosol emissions and land use changes, has substantially advanced since AR5, in particular for extreme precipitation, droughts, tropical cyclones, and compound extremes. High confidence. There's limited evidence for windstorms and convection storms. Some recent hot extreme events would have been extremely unlikely to occur without human influence on the climate system. Since AR5, the attribution of extreme weather events has emerged as a growing field of climate research with an increasing body of literature. It provides evidence that greenhouse gas and other external forcings have affected individual extreme weather events by disentangling anthropogenic drivers from natural variability. Event attribution is now an important line of evidence for assessing changes in extremes on regional scales. Yeah, I'm still lost on that. Like, I don't know. I don't know, like, an emote of somebody clapping. I don't get it. Anyways, seems very hate rate-ish. I've already got a panic button right here. I'm ready. I'm ready. True. Oops. Not what I meant. Easy. Yeah, what is it with these trolls? I don't know. It's okay. Regional extreme events and events that have been studied are geographically uneven. A few events, for example, extreme rainfall events in the UK, heat waves in Australia, Hurricane Harvey that hit Texas in 2017 have been heavily studied. Many highly impact weather events that have not been studied in this event attribution framework, particularly in the developing world where studies are generally lacking. This is due to various reasons, including lack of observational data, lack of reliable climate models, and lack of scientific capacity. While the events that have been studied are not representative of all extreme events that have occurred, and results from these studies may also be subject to selection bias, the large number of event attribution studies provide evidence that changes in properties of these local and individual events are in line with expected consequences of human influence on the climate and can be attributed to external drivers. It is very likely that human influence is the main contributor to the observed increase in the intensity and frequency of hot extremes, and the observed decrease in intensity and frequency of cold extremes on continental scales. Some specific recent hot extreme events would have been extremely unlikely to occur without human influence on the climate system. Changes in aerosol concentrations have likely slowed the increase in hot extremes in some regions, in particular from 1950 to 1980. No-till farming, irrigation, and crop expansion have similarly attenuated increases in summer hot extremes in some regions such as Central North America. Medium confidence. Human influence has contributed to the intensification of heavy precipitation in 3 continents where observational data are most abundant, including North America, Europe, and Asia. High confidence. On regional scale, evidence of human influence on extreme precipitation is limited, but new evidence from attributing individual heavy precipitation events found that human influence was a significant driver of the events. Yikes. And check every follow. True. It is annoying. Who would have thunk? It was us all along. True. There's low confidence that human influence has affected trends in meteorological droughts in most regions, but medium confidence that they have contributed to the severity of some specific events. There's medium confidence that human-induced climate change has contributed to increasing trends in the probability or intensity of recent agricultural and ecological droughts, leading to an increase of the affected land area. Event attribution studies on specific strong tropical cyclones provided limited evidence for anthropogenic effects on tropical cyclone intensification so far, but high confidence for increases in precipitation. There's high confidence that anthropogenic climate change contributed to extreme rainfall amounts during Hurricane Harvey and other intense tropical cyclones. Yikes. The number of evident attribution studies on compound events is limited. There's medium confidence that weather conditions that promote wildfires that become more probable in southern Europe, northern Eurasia, and USA and Australia over the last century. In Australia, a number of attribution studies show that there is medium confidence in increase in fire weather events due to human influence. Hey, Larry vaccinated. Yes, IPCC report. Believe this is page 83. Regional climate information and distillation of climate services. The construction of regional climate information involves people with a variety of backgrounds from various disciplines who have different sets of experiences and capabilities. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Eric, I think you may have a fan. I think you may have a fan. Uh-oh. Yeah, apparently. Yeah, this is the technical summary, Larry vaccinated. I mean, I would go over the 3,900 and something page one, but, ooh. The process, disciplines who have different sets of experiences, capabilities, and values. The process of synthesizing climate information from different lines of evidence from a number of sources, taking into account the context of a user vulnerable to climate variability and change in the values of all relevant actors, is called distillation. Distillation is conditioned by the sources available, the actors involved, and the context, which all depend heavily on the region considered and framed by the question being addressed. Distilling regional climate information from multiple lines of evidence and taking the user context into account increases fitness, usefulness, and relevance and trust in that information for use in climate services and decision-making. High confidence. Yeah, we had one of those for a while. The distillation process can vary substantially as it needs to consider multiple lines of evidence on all physically possible outcomes, especially when they're contrasting, relevant to a specific decision required in response to a changing climate. Confidence in the distilled regional climate information is enhanced when there is a agreement across multiple lines of evidence, so the outcome can be limited if these are inconsistent or contradictory. For example, in the Mediterranean region, the agreement between different lines of evidence, such as observations, projections by regional and global models, and understanding the underlying mechanisms, provide high confidence in summer warming that exceeds the global average. In a less clear-cut case for Cape Town, despite consistency among global model future projections, there's medium confidence in a projected future drier climate due to the lack of consistency and links between increasing greenhouse gases, changes in key mode of variability, the southern annular mode, and drought in Cape Town among different observational periods in model simulations. Since the AR5, Physical climate storyline approaches have emerged as a complementary instrument to provide a different perspective on or additional climate information to facilitate communication of the information or provide a more flexible consideration of the risk. Storylines that condition climate events and processes on a set of plausible but distinct large-scale climate changes enable the exploration of uncertainties in regional climate projections. For example, they can explicitly address low likelihood, high impact outcomes, which would be less emphasized in a probabilistic approach, can be embedded in a user's risk landscape, taking account of socioeconomic factors as well as physical climate changes. Storylines can also be used to communicate climate information by narrative elements describing and contextualizing the main climatological features and relevant consequences in the user context, and as such can be used as part of a climate information distillation process. Ooh. True, Passive PJ. They don't like me, probably because I'm one of Tina and Jack's main mods. Yikes. That's right, that's why I don't even I don't even say anything at this point. Darknet, you're right. Just yeah, no, I couldn't finish it. I'm literally vaccinated. Not in any realistic capacity for it to be talked about on stream. They really don't like the Womans. Yeah, it's really like kind of pathetic, right? Like, why? I don't know. Mods definitely don't deserve that BS, and fire at will. Fire at will if you see any of these. And since Twitch has yet to roll out any meaningful way to address it, we've got to talk to each other. And if you see something, say something. I mean, it's that simple. If you see something, say something. And ban, block, we need to ban or block and move on. Don't give them the attention. I've already got, like, I'm ready for that. I don't want to call it into, attention, but I've got a little panic button on here if that happens. Climate services involving providing climate information to assist decision making, for example, about how extreme rainfall would change to inform improvements in urban drainage. Since AR5, there has been significant increases in the range and diversity of climate service activities. Very high confidence. The level of user engagement, co-design, and co-productions are factors determining the utility of climate services, while resource limitations for these activities constrain their full potential. True. Climate service include engagement from users and providers and an effective access mechanism. They're responsive to user needs based on integrating scientifically credible information and relevant expertise. Climate services are being developed across the regions, sectors, timescales, and user groups, and include a range of knowledge brokerage and integration activities. These involve identifying knowledge needs, compiling, translating, and disseminating knowledge, coordinating networks, and building capacity through informed decision-making, analysis, evaluation, and development of policy and personal consultation. Well, that's all dependent on whether or not our government wants to listen. Since AR5 climate change information produced in climate service context has increased significantly due to scientific and technological advancements and growing user awareness, requirements, and demand. Very high confidence. Climate services are growing rapidly and are highly diverse in their practices and products. The decision-making context, level of user engagement, and co-production between scientists, practitioners, and intended users are important determinants of the type of climate service developed and their utility for supporting adaptation, mitigation, and risk management decisions. They require different types of user-produced engagement depending on what the service aims to deliver, high confidence, and these fall into three broad categories: website-based services, interactive group activities, and focused relationships. I'll give that an A for this is like borderline dad joke level. I'll give it an A for effort. I'll give it an A. A plus. A plus. A key novel element in AR6 is the Working Group 1 Atlas, which includes the Interactive Atlas. The Interactive Atlas provides the ability to explore much of the observational climate model data used as lines of evidence in this assessment to generate regional climate information. We actually saw that when this was first released. An important component is this new online interactive tool, the Interactive Atlas, with flexible spatial and temporal analysis of much of the observed, simulated past and projected future climate data underpinning the Working Group 1 assessment. This includes the ability to generate global maps and a number of regionally aggregated products, time series, scatterplots, tables, etc. For a range of observations and ensemble climate change projection of variables such as changes in CIDs summarized in this table from CMIP5, Cortex, and CMIP6. The data can be displayed and summarized under a range of SSP, RCP scenarios and future time slices, and also for different global warming levels, relative to several different baseline periods. The maps and various statistics can be generated for annual mean trends and changes on for any user specified season. A new set of Working Group 1 reference regions is used for the regional summary statistics and applied widely throughout the report, with the regions available along with the aggregated datasets and code to generate these here. What? Wait, they actually posted this? Oof. Huh. Interesting. No! God dang it. Okay. We saved it. Ooh. Figure 1 shows how the Interactive Atlas products, together with other lines of evidence, can be used to generate climate information for an illustrative example of the Mediterranean summer warming. The lines of evidence include the understanding of relevant mechanisms, dynamic and thermodynamic processes, and the effect of aerosols in this case. Trends in observational datasets which have different spatial and temporal coverage. Attribution of these trends and temperature projections from global and regional climate models at different resolutions, including single model initial condition large ensembles. Taken together, this evidence shows that there is high confidence that the projected Mediterranean summer temperature increases will be larger than in the global mean with consistent results from CMIP5, CMIP6. However, CMIP6 results project both more pronounced warming than CMIP5 for a given emission scenario and time period and a greater range of changes. Drivers of regional climate variability and change. Anthropogenic forcing, including GHGs and aerosols, but also regional land use and irrigation have all affected observed regional climate changes, high confidence, and will continue to do so in the future, high confidence. with various degrees and influence and response times depending on warming levels, the nature of the forcing, and the relative importance of internal variability. Since the 19th century, major modes of variability exhibited fluctuations in frequency and magnitude at multi-decadal timescales, but no sustained trends outside the range of internal variability. An exception is the southern annular mode, which has become systematically more positive, high confidence, and is projected to be more positive in all seasons except for December to January, February. In high CO2 emission scenarios, high confidence, the influence of stratospheric ozone forcing on the SAM trend has been reduced since the early 2000s compared to earlier decades, contributing to the weakening of its positive trend and observed over 2000 to 2019. Medium confidence. In the near term, projected changes in most of the MOV and related teleconnections will likely be dominated by internal variability. In the long term, it is very likely that precipitation variance related to El Niño southern oscillation will increase. Physical climate storylines, including the complex interplay between climate drivers, MOVs, and local and remote forcing, increase the confidence in understanding and the use of observed and projected regional changes. Regional fingerprints of anthropogenic and natural forcing. While anthropogenic forcing has contributed to multi-decadal mean precipitation changes in several regions, internal variability can delay emergence of the anthropogenic signal in the long-term precipitation changes in many land regions. High confidence. At the regional scale, the effect of man-induced GHG forcing on extreme temperatures moderated or amplified by soil moisture feedback, snow ice albedo feedback, regional forcing from land use land cover changes, forcing from aerosol concentrations, or multi-decadal natural variability. Changes in local and remote aerosol forcing led to south-north gradients of the effective radiative forcing, hemispherical asymmetry. Along latitudes, it is more uniform with a strong amplification of the temperature response towards the Arctic. Medium confidence. The decrease in SO2 emissions since 1980s reduced the dampening effect of aerosols, leading to a faster increase in surface air temperature that is most pronounced at mid and high latitudes of the northern hemisphere, where the largest emission reductions have taken place. Multi-decadal dimming and brightening trends in incoming solar radiation at the Earth's surface occurred at widespread locations. High confidence. Multi-decadal variation in anthropogenic aerosol emissions are thought to be a major contributor. Medium confidence, but multi-decadal variability and cloudiness may also have played a role. Volcanic eruptions affect regional climate through their spatially heterogeneous effect on radiative budget, as well as through triggering dynamical responses by favoring a given phase of from some MOV. For instance, refer to this one, which is all at the bottom. Here. Historical urbanization affects the observed warming trends in cities and their surroundings. High confidence. Future urbanization will amplify the projected air temperature under different background climates, with a strong effect on minimum temperatures that could be as large as global warming signal. Very high confidence. Irrigation and crop expansion have attenuated increases in summer hot extremes in some regions such as Central North America. Yikes. Ooh, that's not good. Modes of variability have existed for millennia or longer. High confidence, but there's low confidence in the detailed reconstruction of most of them prior to direct instrumental records. MOVs are treated as a main source of uncertainty associated with internal dynamics, as they can either accentuate or dampen, even mask, the anthropogenically forced responses. Since the late 19th century, major MOVs show no sustained trends, exhibiting fluctuations in frequency and magnitude at multi-decadal timescales except for southern annual mode, which has become systematically more positive. High confidence. It is very likely that human influence has contributed to this trend from the 1970s to the 1990s and to the associated strengthening of the southward shift of the southern hemisphere extratropical jet in austral summer. The influence of stratospheric ozone forcing on the SAM trend has been reduced since the 2000s compared to earlier decades, contributing to the weakening of its positive trend observed over 2000 to 2019. Medium confidence. By contrast, the cause of the northern annular mode Trend upward is positive phase since 1960s and associated northward shifts of northern hemispheric extratropical jet and storm track in boreal winter is not well understood. The evaluation of model performance on simulating MOV is assessed here. Okay. Ooh. We are doing fantastic. 88, folks. We only need, before we get to all the tables that they were discussing, we only need to get to page 109, which is 20, I would say almost 30 pages left. Oof. Yikes. Yikes. Anyways, before I get too distracted, we will continue this tomorrow. I do appreciate all of you guys hanging out here. If you guys want this technical summary, I'll post it in chat. Yeah, it doesn't look good. Callo. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Darknet. Thank you, Spread It Forward. Thank you for all the new follows. I appreciate that. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for the gifted subs. I appreciate that. You guys are incredibly generous, and this channel can't do it without you guys. I appreciate it. If you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to follow. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTubes. Spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics. Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and join us for Saturday Catterdays. And of course, Guaranteed Kitty Cat on stream. Thanks for the stream. Thank you. Thanks, dude. I always appreciate your channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for covering this. Of course. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all of that. It really does. You guys are really what makes this channel go, so I appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for being here. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya! Alright, folks. Let's circle back to Ben. I haven't seen Ben's content in a while. Alright, folks, hang tight. Thank you, Larry Vaccinated. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.